Alright, Terraria Part 4. Let's see what happens this time. Oh boy. My first priority was to go and grab the piggy bank, because if you remember at the end of last video, I accidentally put the thing that lets me summon the piggy bank in the piggy bank. So I had to go and get that back, otherwise I could lose everything inside. I looked at the map and I figured out that if it was still there and it didn't despawn, it would be somewhere in this batch of trees. So I went to grab it. I searched that grove of trees, and I even searched the entire forest. But sadly, my piggy bank had despawned. I looked back on what I actually had in the piggy bank, and all in all, it wasn't a humongous loss. The worst things in there were my inner tube, the batwing, and sticky bombs, but most of the rest of the stuff was either obsolete by new stuff I had acquired, or just not important enough for me to care. So all in all, it's not the end of the world. I warped home, and I decided to start selling some of my things because I wanted to get the mini shark, that really overpowered minigun I could get from the arms dealer, but I had nowhere near enough gold. It's like 22 gold, and I had like 5. The next boss I wanted to fight was King Slime, but I needed to make either a platinum crown or a gold crown in order to make the slime crown that I could use to summon him, and I only had 4 ingots of platinum, and I don't know if I wanted to use them here, so oh well. After that, I decided to go down and start mining again, and I killed my 150th zombie. Like, man, how many of these things have I killed? Apparently 150. Feels like so many more than that. They're everywhere at night. I warped home because I realized my inventory was mostly filled, and I wanted to empty it out of all the ores and turning them into bars, and I also made another mana crystal. I returned to that sandy area to see what would happen if I went even farther down. And then I fell in lava and died. Before actually going back to the actual mine shaft, I actually went to the area that I planned to make my mine shaft in, and I dug straight down. Why? Well, if you don't go down far enough in this game, you can actually reach the underworld. So I kind of wanted to get started on that, and maybe I could find some better ores to make better things to mine better. I had also killed a slime earlier that dropped something I long awaited. A Spelunker Potion. A Spelunker Potion is like a time saver. Like, it's a huge help when you're mining because it just shows everything of interest to you around. Like, it shows the pots, I'm pretty sure it shows the chest, and it shows the ores too. So yeah, I hadn't found a Spelunker Potion ever until now. So that's a big help. Going down, though, has its hard parts because I kept running into areas with water, and I couldn't really do anything other than either try and route the water somewhere else, or dig out more area for the water to go so it wouldn't flood my mine. After a bit more mining downwards, and I had actually reached that minecart track that took me to the Blue Shroom Caves. So I had actually pretty much routed myself right back to where my normal mines would be. But I wanted this hole so I would be able to jump down and get to the underworld, because the underworld has a lot of good ores and also has a lot of stuff that's important for boss fights. I kept mining down, and the problem with going through the Blue Shroom Caves is that there's a bunch of water everywhere, and I don't have the time and I don't have the attention span to mine out enough area for all that water to go. So I did the reasonable thing and flooded my old mine shaft. I don't know, but I didn't do it intentionally, but the water just started going into my old mining hole, and yeah, it just kept going. I'm kind of tired, and also a little overwhelmed, so I just used my magic mirror to escape to home. After that, I just went right back down to my mines, and I had accidentally dug the wrong area, so these skeletons would always knock me off course, and I would lose track of where my hole was supposed to be so I could fall down it. But the thing is that it's hard to see. I lost sight of the top of the hole, and it's just difficult to do that all the time. So I had to just kind of purely assume where the hole was and dig in the right spot. Skipping most of the footage here because it's just me digging in a 2 by whatever hole, and I found a life crystal. Most of this stuff is just me either finding a chest or stuff that isn't that interesting. It's just like me finding a chest or finding another cabin with water and having to deal with that. Yeah, it's not that interesting. While I was digging through a waterlogged cavern, I found a fairy, which is cool because fairies actually lead to really good loot. Sure enough, the chest that I found had a water walking potion that allows me to walk on water, recall potions, which I don't really need, and a trident. And it increases my ability to move in water. So now I can hold down to descend in water slower. I warped home and looked at what I could do with a statue. I heard that statues might be kind of important, but I didn't know what to do with it, and it didn't look like I could ask Cody about it to see what I could make with it. So, for my knowledge right now, statues didn't do anything. I now had enough lead after that little mining expedition to craft a lead chainmail chestplate, which is actually stronger than my raincoat. I did lose Abigail's flower, that thing that allows me to summon that ghost, in the piggy bank fiasco, but thankfully I had a spare one in one of my chests. How lucky is that? I was starting to kind of dislike the way my chest plate looked, so I put my vanity item slot and I put my raincoat in that. So basically, it's technically a social slot type thing. So it displays on my character, but it doesn't give any of its effects. It's just for looks, basically. But I liked it. I made this heavy workbench, which is supposed to be used for advanced crafting, which I don't know what that is. But I didn't have any space for it, so I ended up placing it on the roof. Even though it was nighttime, I was really bored, so I decided to just head this way and see what I could find. So, I'm just here wandering through, and I kept finding fallen stars left and right, which is good for mana crystals, but the thing is, I was actually starting to max out my mana, so it wasn't all that useful. So I just kept going, and then once I reached the tundra, I found something really strange. Soon after I entered it, Deer Clops had awoken. I have no clue who Deer Clops is, but he's very powerful, and I am not ready. That didn't stop me from trying to fight him. Also, this is Deer Clops. Was I the only person who didn't know who the heck this guy was? But I was able to do a little bit of damage into him, but his one attack absolutely sucked because I didn't have any way to get off the ground unless there was a roof above me. So I just pretty much just kept shooting him, and I have no clue how I summoned this guy because I saw that, like, with the lenses, you're supposed to craft the deer thingy to summon this guy. That's its actual name. You're supposed to make a deer thingy, or eye thingy, something. I don't know. But, yeah, so I just was basically fighting him, just trying not to die, because I had no idea what was coming, but I died. I'm going to skip around the next 30 minutes because it's really just a combination of me walking over to Deer Clops, getting in a tiny bit of damage, and then dying, and then doing the same thing over and over again. Thankfully, Deer Clops doesn't despawn during the day, and he doesn't actually despawn at all. Or maybe he does if you don't defeat him fast enough, but I did actually end up defeating him. But, yeah, it took, I'm pretty sure 2 straight Terraria days. So, yeah, I was way too weak to be going up against a guy with 7,000 health, but it just, yeah, I don't know why I kept doing it, but I did. Anyways, fast forward 20 minutes, and I actually got down to below 500 health, and I actually managed to get rid of him. I managed to actually kill him this time. Yep, and I got the achievement, an eye for an eye, which is, maybe it's a rare achievement, I'm not exactly sure, but he dropped a talking axe, which is actually really interesting. Her name is Lucy, and I didn't fight an eye, which I'm pretty sure that means you're supposed to fight a specific, maybe you're supposed to fight a boss before you fight the Deer Clops, but I beat him anyways, and I got this weird radio thing that's basically just a filter for the game, which honestly, it's kind of crap, honestly. Like, there's no reason for me to use it. It just makes everything look weird. But hey, I beat him and dropped Lucy the axe, which is actually a really good weapon and a really good axe. Something that you might notice is every once in a while an axe thing will show that I'm talking about an axe, which is that's actually Lucy basically telling me to use her. And whenever I'm actually holding Lucy, she'll say stuff like, "Let's just find a little grove of trees and go wild," because she really likes to chop. Reminds me of someone. Anyways, she also says little things about when I actually chop trees. So that's she's actually a very multi-dimensional weapon. So that's actually pretty cool. I also learned that Lucy does more damage than any of my weapons do, so I'm gonna keep her in my inventory for a while. And she's like, oh, Lucy. I wanted to make that crimson pickaxe, but my only method to obtain crimtane, which is the ore, not crimstone. Crimtane is actually the ore that I need. So I went to the crimson and crafted another suspicious looking eye. And I also wanted to make that pickaxe so I could also mine my own crimtane and not have to resort to fighting bosses. I'm not even sure if it spawns naturally, but that's besides the point. I didn't really have anything else interesting going on during the day. I kind of just talked to the NPCs while I waited for the night to roll around because the eye can only be summoned during the night. And honestly, I'm not sure if the bed sped up time or not. I tried to use the bed to sleep through the day. Maybe it only works through the night, but I'm not sure. Anyways, let's fight this thing again. You already saw me fight in the last video. It wasn't really all that different or all that interesting. So I just killed it and I got more crimtane ore. But then I realized when I went back to craft the stuff that it wasn't that I didn't have enough crimtane, it's that I was missing tissue samples. I didn't know what tissue samples were, and I didn't know how to get them, so I decided to look it up on the wiki. Turns out the only way to get tissue samples is to fight the Brain of Cthulhu, because tissue samples are dropped by both the eyes it summons to defend it, and by the actual brain itself when you kill it. So I didn't know what to do, I didn't know what to use to summon it, so I decided to go back to the cave, and since I could break the Crimson Hearts to summon it, I was just going to do that. Before I left, I decided to fight Crimson with Crimson, and I looked at some of the Crimson stuff that I could craft. I didn't know what to make. I had the artery, which is a yo-yo, which is pretty much just you send it out and you control it with your cursor. So I decided to craft the sword, the Blood Butcherer. I bought some dynamite from Garvel because I was going to need to hollow out the area where the Crimson Hearts were to make an arena, which is just the wooden platforms. I was also going to need a lot of wooden platforms to do that, and since I couldn't mine it myself yet, I need to resort to explosives. The next 20 minutes are kind of boring because it's just me making my arena and the Crimson. So here's a montage of Lucy talking, and she says stuff like,
"When you think about it, cactuses are just prickly trees. This is the perfect chopping weather. Chop, chop, chop. We make a good team. Let's find a small grove and just go nuts."
Anyways, back to me. After going through around 400 wooden platforms, this was my arena. I definitely could have done it a little better since one of my platforms goes through a Crimson Altar, and since I can't mine it, it's just there. But other than that, it's pretty much the same as my other one, just much, much taller. I used one of my bombs to blow up a Crimson Heart, and boom! The Brain of Cthulhu has been summoned. And it came from the ground. All I had to do to get the tissue samples was to kill the eyes, so I didn't really have to kill the boss to get what I needed, I just needed to kill its eyes. I quickly placed down my blood cloud because that does the most damage out of anything, and it doesn't help that there were blood crawlers all over the place, just adding to the chaos. So yeah, I already got the tissue samples that I needed, and I actually had to take a step back to remember how many I needed. And even these things actually drop crimtane ores. Basically, I just had to fight these things that I needed anything to make the crimson stuff. After killing all the eyes, it decided to enter its second phase where it starts to teleport, and it exposes the heart inside the brain, and it has an eye on it. Ugh. Well, I just kept shooting at it because I couldn't hit it because it just kept teleporting, and the hitbox was too small for me to hit it with my sword. I did get it really low, but I then died because it ran into me. So I couldn't go back to fight it like I did with Deerclops because the brain despawns, or it leaves once it kills you. So, oof. So I either had to find 3 more Crimson Hearts to get the event to summon him again, or I could try and craft the thing that I need to summon him. Also, I want more musket balls. Anyways, what I mean by saying the thing to summon him is I summoned him via the Crimson Heart because that's an event to summon him because you break a Crimson Heart. But there's another thing, like the Eye of Cthulhu has a suspicious looking eye, and if you use that, it summons him. The Brain of Cthulhu has the Bloody Spine, but I didn't want to go hunting for the stuff I need to make for that yet, so I decided to just go back and try and find more Crimson Hearts. Before I went to do that, I wanted to craft some Crimson Armor, and first thing I did was buy the Deathbringer Pickaxe, which is the pickaxe that can mine Hellstone, but that's not going to be very useful to me yet. So, another thing I wanted to make was Crimson Armor, but after I made the pickaxe, I could only afford the helmet, so, oh well. I scrounged around for a little bit of Crimtane, and I had just enough to make the helmet and the chest plate, but I just couldn't make the bottom. So, oh well. But now, the problem was this. So, I never had a problem with lights because I have the miner helmet. So, the thing is, that casts light, and I don't really keep torches or glow sticks in my inventory anymore. But now that I'm wearing my Crimson helmet, that doesn't apply anymore. So, I now have to carry torches again, which makes fighting underground even harder. The next day, I decided to work on the second floor of my base because I need more space for everything. It's kind of boring, so in the meantime, here's some more of Lucy talking.
Hey, let's chop some trees! We did it! Yeah! Let's chop another! This is awesome! Die! Yeah! It's really more stupid tree! I feel alive!
As you can see, she likes to chop. I didn't have enough space to put a full flight of stairs, so I came up with the big brain technique of replacing the entire floor with wooden platforms so I can jump down and jump up into it. All that was left was to put in the wooden walls, and I also gave my bottom floor a little bit of a facelift because when I placed them in, I was kind of sloppy about it, so I just gave it a little fix up, and there we go. My entire second floor is officially done. Anyways, back to trying to kill the Brain of Cthulhu. I did some research, and the Bloody Spine, which is the thing I need to use to summon it, is crafted by Vicious Powder and Vertebra. I was not at all lacking in Vertebra, so that was easy. But to make Vicious Powder, I needed Vicious Shrooms, which are spawning in the Crimson, but I had sold most of the ones I had come across, so I had to go and find more. So, and also, the Vicious Powder, what it does is it's the opposite of the Purification Powder that the Dryad sells. Instead of stopping the Crimson, it doesn't just turn Crimstone into normal stone, it changes everything into back to normal, but the Vicious Powder does the exact opposite. Splash it on anything normal, and it'll turn it to Crimson. Which, looking back, I probably could have planted a bunch of mushrooms and then hit them with a Vicious Powder to get a bunch of Vicious Mushrooms. But I'm not sure if that worked, and I didn't want to try it. So, oh well. I still hadn't totally given up on trying to get enough Crimson Hearts, but I quickly found out that I had killed all the ones that were in this one, so my only hope, if I was going to get it with Crimson Hearts, was to head to the other Crimson area, the Crimsonified area that's the desert on the left side of the map, and I had to go there and hopefully find another Crimson Heart to summon it, but that's probably not going to be worth it because I don't have my arena over there. After killing 100 blood crawlers and getting a second poster, and I had gotten 20 things of Vicious Powder, but I need 30 to make the Bloody Spine, so I needed to go to the left Crimson, the Crimson Desert, and hopefully find 2 there so I can make 2 more batches of Vicious Powder to summon this dang brain. While I was going through the tundra, I actually killed a demon eye that had dropped a black lens. I don't know if that's rare or not, but I haven't gotten one yet. I had made it to the forest area of the left crimson, and I had found a vicious mushroom, but I didn't have enough space in my inventory to put it in my inventory. So I had to get rid of some death weeds. I don't know what death weeds are for, but they don't sound like they're important. I got the 200 year and I was about to die, but then I barely made it out on 11 health with my magic meter. That was close. Combining 15 vertebra and 30 vicious powder gave me the bloody spine, the thing I needed to summon the brain. So I just went to my arena, ate a rambutan which gave me minor improvements to my stats, and healed up and summoned the big brain. Here we go. She has like half the health of Deerclops, so I wasn't super worried, especially now that I could move around more easily. So I just went and shot at the eyes. To be honest, the real problem was just the blood crawlers everywhere getting in the way. They were literally everywhere. Anyways, I kept shooting at them. I didn't realize until later that you have to kill all the eyes before you can actually attack the brain. Kept trying to shoot at the brain without realizing it, that I couldn't do that yet. So, oof. After killing the final eye, the brain's heart is exposed, which makes no sense, but whatever. Now he was pulling out all the stops. He was teleporting and teleporting and teleporting, and I didn't think I would be able to survive because my healing was still on cooldown. He just kept teleporting everywhere, and I just couldn't hit him. I just kept shooting at him and shooting and bang, bang, bang. And eventually, I did get him below 1,000 health because my bullet shots were actually pretty good. Lucy wouldn't stop talking about wanting to cut some trees, but that's not the priority right now, Lucy. And Mastermind achievement unlock. I have killed the brain of Cthulhu. And that's pretty much all I did for this one. And I crafted another Superstitious looking eye after that, but other than that, that's my playthrough of Terraria so far. Alright, bye.